because it can, I don't want to make a dent in his wallet, but, and I worked on him for an hour and a half because I really had to make sure that water got in and then got out. Mm-hmm. Because, see, let me say something else. You can look at these pictures that they have of the colon. Mm-hmm. I've never seen really a colon like that. I mean, you can have twists and turns, people with endometriosis or any kind of scar tissue. It can actually wrap around the colon. It can actually move up against the colon and make that muscle change its shape. I tell you what, I was so surprised when I was watching a colonoscopy and the colon was moving. It moves all the time. It was absolutely fascinating.
So let me ask you, when you were doing this in the physician's office, when they were going in for colonoscopies, did you ever do the hydrocolon therapy prior to or after? How did that relate?
Okay, so what what happens is that they had a protocol, and then they'd come see me for the colon therapy. After they saw me, they went over to the surgery center to have their colonoscopy. Uh-huh. And then it would determine, what occurred. Like, when it comes to my work, I'm like a perfectionist, and the doctor that I worked with, he always let me know, how everything went. And he could tell if people drank the water that they needed or that they didn't, because I would always text him and say, this is what I found during the session, and then he would relate back to me and tell me, yes, this was this. And one time I worked on this lady for an hour and a half, and I couldn't work on her anymore because I had such a full day. And when I saw him afterwards, I told him, I said, what happened with her? And he said, Suzanne, you did a great job. She has an extra long colon. Mm. And so, we don't always know.
So that's incredibly interesting. Why don't they do the hydrocolon therapy prior to colonoscopies as a rule?
Well, because doctors are not educated. And, there's a lot of things that are on the internet. Some of it's true and some of it's not. I have worked with several GI doctors, and they say, well, you're going to burst the colon. We're not going to burst the colon. We have a pressure gauge on our equipment, and we know what's going on inside of the individual. I mean, a 4-layer muscle is pretty strong. Now, when you work on somebody that may have had a history of diverticulitis, and that's when a piece of feces will embed itself into a weakened area of the colon, you proceed with caution. Mm-hmm. And if a doctor were to refer to me and tell me that this person has a history of that, I would talk to the doctor in depth, and I would also ask this person, how she felt, if there was any discomfort there. And also, when you do massage, and this, Patricia, you can feel the different temperatures in the body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that gives information as well. So, there's so much more to colon therapy than putting water inside and taking it out. And people will come to me and say, well, just clean me out. I said, okay. And why are you here? I want to be cleaned out. And then I have to explain to them, well, your colon is as long as you're tall. And I notice that you're 6'2", you've got very long arms and legs, and your colon might be a little bit longer than that. And how many times do you eliminate a day? Well, I usually go every other day. I said, one colonic is not going to make it. Wow. And that's why go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. If somebody has diverticulitis, number one, is it beneficial for them to get one colonic or a series of colonics, and will that help their situation so that their colon can, or what do you suggest in that area?
Okay, first of all, diverticulitis is a contraindication. It cannot be in that state because anything with itis is inflammation. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be weak. It could be uncomfortable. So we have to wait for them to kind of balance out. And there are so many wonderful products out there that they can take that will start nourishing their body. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. You know, in the past, I carried so many different type of supplements, but I'm really, really focusing on the digestive system and the colon. And there's about 3 or 4 different lines that I really, really like. And the other thing I have to ask, too, is what is going on with that person emotionally? Because I do ask very in-depth questions. And I always tell my clients, you don't have to answer, because it's up to them. This is their session. But I also tell them, the more I know about you, the more I can support you in your journey of health.
So what do you recommend that when people are having digestive problems? Yes, they probably have emotions, but what are those nurturing supplements that you often will go to for them to help nourish that area so that it flows more easily?
Well, am I allowed to mention a product?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, my mentor, Brenda Watson, started another family business called Vital Planet. And, 30 years ago, Brenda was talking about the health of the colon and probiotics and dysbiosis. So all this stuff is not all that new. And her product line has come out with something, Gut Health, Gut Renew. It's Vital Gut, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's a powder that you take on an empty stomach. You can take it in the morning and the evening, and that helps the integrity of the intestines. And the other thing, too, that she has is she has different types of probiotics. And it depends on what strains you're using and if there's a lot of lactose or bacillus, because the lactose is for the upper GI, the bacillus is for the lower GI. And she's got different formulas that will be good for those particular areas. It depends on what a person is eating. And then there are enzymes. I use Enzyme Science because they've got different range of enzymes that are good. The other thing that's really important, you can have aloe. You can drink marshmallow tea. And the foods that we eat, and Kimberly could probably add a lot to this, but
I think Kimberly has a note she wanted to. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Well, back to Brenda Watson, she helped me start healing my gut with reading her book, and it was in 1998-99, and I was introduced to my first colonic on the air. There was a radio personality getting one done. But Brenda, and I was so excited that you worked with Brenda Watson, and I've been taking her stuff regularly for many years. And I think it's L-glutamine too is a great supplement for helping heal tissue.
Yes.
But all of those are excellent. Bone broth, but people have to get off the processed food and the additives, preservatives. That stuff starts to break away the tissue.
Right. That's absolutely, Kimberly. And one of the things that people do not realize, chewing, or referred to as mastication. Chewing is so important. Most people chew their food 3 or 4 times. We release Tylen in our mouth, which is for the beginning of digestion for carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. And you've got to have step 1 so that 2, 3, and 4, etc., are more complete. Mm-hmm. Animal protein really gets broken down in the stomach. So if you chew your food 15, and I always tell my clients to start off, your goal is to hit 15. Eventually, you want it to go up to 30. The more you chew your food, it allows it to be broken down, and then it can be assimilated as it goes through the steps of digestion. And then the other thing is drinking good water. Water is so important. I just put in a new system at my sink called Aqua Spring that I tell my clients about, because it's not just alkaline water that I have a spigot on. I also have hydrogen water. And when I get a script from a doctor, or healthcare practitioner to infuse something during my colonics, I always mix it with the hydrogen water because it's easily absorbed into the system and the cells.
Mm-hmm.
So you do incredible work, Suzanne, and I'm just so thrilled that you shared some of these great stories that you've had and how people can just start to take care of themselves. How often I'm going to ask you one more question, then we're going to be running out of time, but how often do you suggest people get colon therapy?
Okay, it depends on their situation. When someone comes to see me, we usually should suggest 3 sessions, but it will determine how frequent they are according to their elimination. Just like you clean the plumbing in your house once a month, I would also say once a month for the colon therapy. However, if you feel like you're starting to get sick, I would come in.
Okay.
I've had a lot of people that get colds or stuff like that, and they come in. And I say, get a script from your doctor. We can put some extra probiotics in because anything that you put up into the large intestine is going to be absorbed immediately.
Oh, that's fantastic, Suzanne. Really, I'm so sorry we've run out of time at this point. Please let our listeners know where they can reach you and your contact information. Go for it.
Okay. My website is renewlifewellness.com, RENEWLIFE wellness. My phone number is 813-871-3200, and I recently moved closer to downtown Tampa. I'm in an area called VM Ybor, and I have my own schedule, and if people have questions, then please feel free to call me at 813-871-3200 or email me at Suzanne, SUZANNE, at renewedlifewellness.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, ladies, and you have a blessed day and happy holidays.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning into our show on societybitesradio.com. Don't worry, if you've missed a show, you can find them all on our website at SarasotaHolisticChamberofCommerce.com.